Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Nat Walsh, and today we have a cute card. We're going to use this Paper Rose Hogs and Kisses. So there's lots of little things, just pig cause I can. So we're going to use the Hogs and Kisses sentiment. I've already stamped this out because I actually stamped it out when I was going to a friend's place. Feels like a century ago when we were allowed. So we're going to play with this, have the cake, there's only one piggy that we're not going to use. And that's the one with the sleeping cap on, shall we say. So I've masked out the stool. That was really the only masking I did, even though I've put the candle on the top of the cake. The bow was already there. Couple of the cherries were already there. I did put 2 extra cherries on top of our cake. The present is already in the piggy's hands. So it was only really the cake and the stool that we had to play around with. So I've rubbed off, when I stamped the stool, I've rubbed off the top of it, just so we didn't stamp over my piggy's little hooves. No, they're not called hooves. Troughs? I don't know. Their feet. They're piggy feet. So I'm going to use T-ruler here to mark out our floor. I've already drawn myself a cake because first off I was thinking, well, I'm not going to put my cake in the dirt, so what are we going to do with him? And then in the end, I'm sort of going to put him in like in a little bit of a house, but not really. Just we're going to do a bit of a fake ground and a bit of a background. So with a multi-liner with the 0.3, which is the Copics safe multi-liner, we're just going to put in our details. Now, obviously my little plate is going to be a little bit rough because I'm not a perfect drawer, but it's all going to blend in quite well. I decided my Hogs and Kisses was going to be a sign that's going to hang up on the wall, and it was going to be a bit of a rough piece of wood, so we're going to make the edges. At this point I sort of thought, hang on a sec, I need to double check how big this is going to sit, because I pretty much always map this up. I will, at this point in time, I'm going to cut it down to 14.4 by 10, but I do come in a little bit later and change that around. It ends up being about 14.1 by 9.7 centimeters. So that's pretty cool. So once I've got the original idea of where I wanted to put once I cut it down and everything else, where I wanted to put the nail in the wall, now we're going to move that down. As I said, I do trim off like 0.3 of a centimeter. Do our string to hold it up. That's going to be pretty much our little design now that we're going to colour in. So this is all rough. I didn't particularly want to have a very finished line. Wood is not terribly finished, and this is a bunch of pigs having a party. It's not exactly a real thing. No, so we thought that would be pretty cool. I'm into that we at the moment. Anywho, rub out all our lines, because once you start colouring with the Copic markers, then it's not going to lift up at all. So make sure you can't see any pencil lines in that. Now I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to slow it down for each of the colours, trying to keep it pretty straightforward for you. So BV31, we have our R32, R30 and R11 for majority of our piggies. Now, I was originally going to think about making one of my piggies look a little bit brown, but I thought in the end he's just going to look a bit oddball. I'd have to do all 3 of them different colours, and I just decided I wanted mine to be that pink piggy look. So this is what we went with. So the BV31 just sort of gives it a really cool just toning. I'm no expert in this, like I like my colouring, and I think I'm not too bad at it, but I'm trying to branch out into some other colours. So all the piggies are pretty much going to be coloured the same, just using the BV31 for shading and blend it all through with the R32, the R30 and R11. The snouts, I'm only going to really use the R32 and R30. And there's like magic, our piggies are done. So R39, R27 and R14 are going to be our reds, which is going to be the bow. It's going to be the wrapping of the present, and our little hearts and our cherries aren't really going to have those. The hearts and the cherries aren't really going to have any major color shading or anything, but it was just nice. They were little, so I did put a little bit on there. So we'll finish that off with a little bow. Our present is the other one. I'm going to tidy that up a little bit with the 0 marker. I think most of my red I left in because it was relatively small, and it was a couple of different images, like with the hearts, the bow and the present. I'm just aware that videos can go on for a bit too long sometimes with a lot of colouring. So I wanted to show you the one pig, and the rest were all going to be pretty much coloured the same. I thought I recently did another video that's going to pop up in a couple of a week or two that I really had to speed it up a fair bit. So BG99, BG96 and 93 are going to be our other little bow, as you can see. Our banner, which is what's in that other pig's little hands, and some of our candle. I like to, in some ways I've got the same thing happening with red, in the sense of we've got the bow, we've got the hearts, yes, we've got more than one heart, and we've got the cherries. So 3 things are coloured in the same colour. I think it's a bit more pleasing to the eye, and I like it. So that's what I do. I don't know if there's any right or wrong reasoning behind it, but obviously an even amount is much more pleasing to the eye than having just one thing. I mean, we are going to have, our candle is going to be one specific colour, and I'm not going to have that anywhere else, but it's a candle and it's tiny. It's nothing too major. Our mouths are going to be very, very similar. I'm going to use the 2 lighter colour, the 27 and the R14 for the mouths. With our C's, we've got C4, C2 and CO. We're going to colour in shade, well, it's more shade, some of our teeth and some of our eyes. And that's going to be pretty much it of our C's, I think. And we forgot his little tail, so we'll go back in with him. E47, E33 and E31 are going to be our chair. I don't need to worry too much about this, but our sign is going to be these colours as well. These being a wood, I'm going to make sure it's not perfectly blended, because I wanted to have more of a look that it's wood. Wood is not, generally speaking, a smooth colour. It has all the veins and all the grain I think it's grain of the wood, which just is really pleasing to the eye. Up with our sign, I'm going to try not to too much in regards to the darkest colour around the wording. I want to make sure that's nice and clear. So I will go back in and add a little bit more of the darker, but I'm trying not to, just keep it on the edges and around it, not through it, because it's going to be harder to see. My little screw is also going to be one of the C's, and of course I just did my plate there before. So E29, 27, 25 and 23 are going to be our chocolate. Now with the icing, I've tried to keep it, dare I say, rough, because icing has a bit of movement, it has a bit of movement, dare I say it. I don't know, words are hard today, people. The actual cake is still going to be chocolate, which is going to be a lot more smoother texture and smoother blend, but we're going to make sure our icing stays a bit sort of textured, fitting in line with the actual having icing on the actual cake. I'm going to finish those off. Now I was wondering about my background. So what I decided to do is to very much keep it those muted colours, sort of that olivey, sort of olivey. In real life it's olivey. What I'm going to do is on the ground is use just the W markers. I've got W5, 3 and 1 on the ground. Here we go. I'm first going to put my shading underneath all my piggies and my stool and the cake, of course, remembering my little cherry that's sitting on the ground. And I'm just going to fill in the rest of it. And when I get up to the 1, I'm just going to do the whole background and colour that all in there. I don't want it to be exact smooth because we want to make sure that we keep that shadows from our piggies. Now, I didn't want to colour the whole wall in quotation marks. Here's our little candle. And there's gone. So we're going to use our BG 93 and 90. Using the darker colour, I'm going to start at the bottom, flicking up. So I've cut some of that out. And then using the lighter colour, blend that up to the rest of it. That's going to be pretty much it. So this card is for Leslie from Little Bits in Keysborough, Melbourne, Australia, and her information will be linked below. There will also be another link over to my blog, which will have all the informations and photos and all the markers I used and sizing and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you hit the little like button, hit the little bell. It would be awesome if you subscribed. If you hit the little bell, it lets you know that sometimes I get really, really busy and really crazy, which I've said it in other videos, and I have it all scheduled to go up, but I don't always throw it over onto Leslie's Facebook page until a bit later in the day. So that will let you know beforehand. Little bit of stickles on our bow, our hearts, and a little bit on our present, and that is it. That's it for our little bells and whistles. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care and goodbye.